Alright, welcome back. This is M-Dog, and we are, of course, going to start this video with a fish on, because if I didn't, you might not get to see a fish at all, although this is probably just a perch, because let me tell you, we've caught a lot of perch. This is one of those situations where, nope, it's not. It's actually a short-nosed barbel, and I think it's going to be a marker, which is nice. Sorry, short-headed barbel. This is one of those situations where I came to this spot and did some experimentation with one approach and then switched to what you should do in this spot, or one of the options of how you should approach this spot. So initially what I did, we are down here in the, what do we call this? The toenail of Akhtuba, which I remember the first few times I fished down here for sturgeon or whatnot, we were kind of casting, maybe aiming over here, right? Basically casting into this deeper part, which is why it got the name toenail, for the shape of the deeper area through this part of Akhtuba. But more recently, a lot of the spots have been sort of off this point across from us here. And then currently, I've actually been casting like straight across at the reeds over there. Anywhere from like 19 to 21 clip is what I saw on VK today. And that's basically what I've been using, 19 through 21. So when I first came here to fish, I used up all of those rough bait fish. So I'll link to the last video at the end of this one if you didn't happen to see it. But earlier I posted a video at Mosquito catching a ton of rough. And then we created those, turned those into bait fish. I had, I don't know, over 20 of them. And so it was interesting to see. Unfortunately, we caught almost all perch, which I'll show you in just a second. So I want to show you. So the turning point is here. The short-headed barbel, we call it here. At this point, we stopped using rough and fully embraced what I think this spot right now is excelling at, which is really trying to target the sterlet. But before that, we were using 2 bait fish rigs with our rough, and then 1 with the crayfish tail, which is where some of these sterlet came in. But do notice this fish here. So on rough, we did get a beluga, which is scary, right? I mean, this is a 32 kilo beluga. Obviously could have been a lot bigger, potentially. But even a 32 kilo beluga was not very fun to pull in, and of course did quite a bit of damage to our rig, and is not going to be worth anything for the most part. So that is one of the reasons why I would recommend you not fish here with rough fish like I did with live bait. We did get a chub, which is fine. Mostly we got perch. One of these sterlet, this one was on the crayfish tail, but one of these sterlet was on a rough as well. Was it this one? Yeah. So sterlet will bite on the rough, but there's just much better ways to target the sterlet. So by the point we caught this short-headed barbel, we had used up all of our rough. And from then on, we've been fishing with night crawlers, and the middle rod is the one that's had crayfish tail on it the whole time. And we are using this PVA. This is a pretty generic PVA. I actually use this PVA recipe at Tunguska sometimes when I'm going for a combination of the sturgeon, sterlet, Amur catfish, burbot, that kind of stuff. So, but it's a pretty generic one, right? I mean, there's different ways you can make it. It's basically that sort of sturgeon, sterlet, those type ingredients that you typically use. So, yeah, once you embrace the sterlet, it actually isn't a bad spot. If you look at sterlet, we've had, you know, some okay ones. We haven't had the big one yet. I did notice that at Tuba right now, there's that, the big trophy order is for a sterlet. So it's kind of a nice time to be trying to catch sterlet, because if you do hit it big and get very lucky, then that cafe order will make what's already a lot of silver. I mean, if you catch some nice sterlet, you're already getting paid, right? But it'll make it that much better if you can fulfill that cafe order. So if you look at the weekly sterlet, you'll see that Nightcrawler looks like the largest sterlet. However, I've probably had overall a little better bite rate on the crayfish tail. That's been my own personal experience. The Nightcrawlers have done fine, but I think they've been a little slower. And the crayfish tail have been pretty good. See the wild carp. We've had a couple of those. Those have come in on the Nightcrawler. So ever since we switched to Nightcrawler, we've seen a couple of wild carp. So that's a possibility. But then everything else has been sterlet and short-headed with still some perch mixed in. At least the perch have been, the Nightcrawler perch have been a little bigger. I don't think the crayfish is catching perch at all. So, you know, you can remove the perch by not using the Nightcrawlers, but such good sterlet are coming in on the Nightcrawlers, it's probably worth it. Alright, so this does feel like a perch or something really small. And again, this isn't going to be, oh, that's a first, little common carp. This isn't going to be a video where, unfortunately, where I'm going to be able to show you me catching a lot of fish because just the bite rate's too slow. And so I knew I didn't want to stand here just staring. So I just kind of preemptively did some fishing here so that I could sort of report on our findings. I'm using a combination. I've got a fluorocarbon leader on this one. I don't really think it matters. I think using the carp leaders is fine. It's typically what I do. Because there are not sturgeon, at least not, they don't seem to be active right now in this spot, I am going with the 36 kilo stuff. Of course, if you're catching a bunch of sturgeon, or if we were in danger of catching beluga or something else, then we would use much stronger line and either like 55 kilo leaders or even no leaders at all sometimes. But I think with the sterlet, and because we seem to be fairly well insulated from those really big catches at the moment, they might do better with having the leaders on there. However, I don't know. I mean, I guess technically since we switched, we haven't caught anything that would be, you could even go smaller. Like you could go 20 kilo leader and still be fine. I guess your biggest risk is, what if you hit a bigger wild carp? The largest we've had is the 5.3. So a big wild carp on smaller gear would be a problem. It would just take a long time to get in for what it's worth. But I don't know how likely that really is. And, you know, we've only been here about an hour since switching to all sterlet bait versus the live bait we used for the first hour and a half. So, and this will end up being decent silver just because the sterlet add up. It's not quite like sturgeon, but it's, you know, sterlet do add up. So this will be decent. There's so many perch, though, that kind of takes away from it. But it'll be interesting. It's not going to be like great silver-wise, but it'll be okay. And like I said, it's, you know, you've got that outside chance that if you hit the sterlet trophy right now, you know, you're really going to be in a good spot. So anyway, I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up there. Oh, there's a little marker sterlet. That's kind of fun. And this is the one that's at 20 meter clip. And you can see I'm just casting straight across at those reeds over there. And pretty consistent bite rate. I mean, I've definitely seen sterlet times where sterlet have been pretty active that's not been this active a bite rate. So it's not a bad time to go for sterlet, you know, if you want, if that's something you're wanting to do. The nice thing about sterlet compared to sturgeon is that you know, just the time of getting the fish in is so much quicker. So just kind of depending on the mood you're in. I mean, if you want to go for sturgeon, that's a very different experience. Tends to be even slower, but when you do hit a big sturgeon, it's you know, 30, 45 minutes easy on getting a nice one in. So it just depends on what you are in the mood to fish for. But this has been cool. This has been fun. I haven't fished at Tuba for Sterlet in a long time. And because of night crawlers, it's been cool to see the barbels mixed in. And so, yeah, we'll see. I'll probably stay here a little bit longer, see if we can't get lucky on a little bigger Sterlet. But I do think this spot's producing pretty well. So using the rough as live bait here was an absolute, avoid that. It's one of those, let me do it so you don't have to kind of thing. So we probably would have been better off using those rough at Corey, which is something I've done in the past. I mean, if you can find some predators active on rough, that can be a better place to try to use those, because then you're probably going to catch, most likely pike, maybe some burbot, that kind of thing. But anyway, using them here, especially with that beluga coming in, that was a quick answer to that not being a good idea. So, all right, thanks for watching. And like I said, I'll go ahead and link that video where we were catching all the rough in case you are interested, although I would not go catch rough to use here. I would just embrace the active Sterlet and using things like night crawlers and then other premium baits as well to catch some nice Sterlet, which is fun. All right, tight lines, everybody. I'll see you next time.